100C, MgL total coliform, MPN 100 M, free ammonia MgL. 72 electrical conductivity etc. times the CPCB, in cooperation with the concerned state pollution control boards, has classified all the water bodies including coastal waters in the country according to their designated best uses. Times this classification helps the water quality managers and planners to set water quality targets and identify needs and priority for water quality restoration programs for various water bodies in the country. Times the famous Ganga Action Plan and subsequently the National River Action Plan are results of such exercise. Times riparian buffers. A riparian buffer is a vegetated area, a buffer strip, near a stream, usually forested, which helps shade and partially protect a stream from the impact of adjacent land uses. Times treatment of sewage water and the industrial effluents before releasing it into water bodies. Hot water should be cooled before release from the power plants. Times excessive use of fertilizers and pesticides should be avoided. Organic farming and efficient use of animal residues as fertilizers can replace chemical fertilizers. Times water hyacinth, an aquatic weed, invasive species, can purify water by taking some toxic materials and a number of heavy metals from water. Times oil spills in water can be cleaned with the help of brigoli, a byproduct of paper industry resembling sawdust, oil zapper, microorganisms. Times it has been suggested that we should plant eucalyptus trees all along sewage ponds. These trees absorb all surplus wastewater rapidly and release pure water vapor into the atmosphere. Bioremediation times bioremediation is the use of microorganisms, bacteria and fungi to degrade the environmental contaminants into less toxic forms. Times microorganisms can be specifically designed for bioremediation using genetic engineering techniques. In situ bioremediation times in situ, it involves treatment of the contaminated material at the site. Times bioventing, supply of air and nutrients through wells to contaminated soil to stimulate the growth of indigenous bacteria. Times biosparging, injection of air under pressure below the water table to increase groundwater oxygen concentrations and enhance the rate of biological degradation of contaminants by naturally occurring bacteria. Times bioaugmentation, microorganisms are imported to a contaminated site to enhance the degradation process. Using bioremediation techniques, Terry has developed a mixture of bacteria called oilzapper and olivolysis which degrades the pollutants of oil contaminated sites, leaving behind no harmful residues. Q recently, oilzapper, was in the news. What is it? I. It is an eco-friendly technology for the remediation of oil sludge and oil spills. B. It is the latest technology developed for undersea oil exploration. C. It is a genetically engineered high biofuel yielding match variety. D. It is the latest technology to control the accidentally caused flames from oil wells. Answer. I. Current affairs based question. Keep track of the latest developments. XC2 bioremediation times XC2 involves the removal of the contaminated material to be treated elsewhere. Times land farming, contaminated soil is excavated and spread over a prepared bed and periodically tilled until pollutants are degraded. The goal is to stimulate indigenous biodegradative microorganisms and facilitate their aerobic degradation of contaminants. Times bioreactors, it involves the processing of contaminated solid material, soil, sediment, sludge, or water through an engineered containment system. 73 times composting, Composting is nature's process of recycling decomposed organic materials into a rich soil known as compost. Advantages of bioremediation: times useful for the destruction of a wide variety of contaminants. Times the destruction of target pollutants is possible. Times less expensive. Times environment friendly. Disadvantages of bioremediation: times bioremediation is limited to biodegradable compounds. Not all compounds are susceptible to rapid and complete degradation. Times bioremediation often takes a longer time than other treatment processes. Q. In the context of solving pollution problems, what is are the advantages of bioremediation technique? 1. It is a technique for cleaning up pollution by enhancing the same biodegradation process that occurs in nature. 2. Any contaminant with heavy metals such as cadmium and lead can be readily and completely treated by bioremediation using microorganisms. 3. Genetic engineering can be used to create microorganisms specifically designed for bioremediation. Select the correct answer using the code given below. A. 1 only. B. To biodegradable compounds. Answer. C. 1 and 3 only. Phytoremediation: times phytoremediation is the use of plants to remove contaminants from soil and water. Times natural phytoremediation is carried out by mangroves, estuarine vegetation and other wetland vegetation. Times phytoextraction: phytoaccumulation, plants accumulate contaminants into the roots and above ground shoots or leaves. Sewage water treatment for domestic use: times substances that are removed during the process of drinking water treatment include suspended solids, bacteria, algae, viruses, fungi, and minerals such as iron and manganese. Times the processes involved in removing the contaminants include physical processes such as settling and filtration, chemical processes such as disinfection and coagulation, and biological processes such as slow sand filtration. Coagulation flocculation: times aluminium sulfate, alum, is the most common coagulant used for water purification. Times other chemicals, such as ferric sulfate or sodium aluminate, may also be used. Times during coagulation, liquid aluminium sulfate, alum, is added to untreated water. Times this causes the tiny particles of dirt in the water to stick together or coagulate. Times next, groups of dirt particles stick together to form larger particles called flocks. Times flocks are easier to remove by settling or filtration. Sedimentation: times as the water and the flock particles progress through the treatment process, they move into sedimentation basins where the water moves slowly, causing the heavy flock particles to settle to the bottom. Times flock which collects on the bottom of the basin is called sludge and is piped to drying lagoons. Times in direct filtration, the sedimentation step is not included, and the flock is removed by filtration only. 74. Filtration: times water flows through a filter designed to remove particles in the water. The filters are made of layers of sand and gravel, and in some cases, crushed anthracite. Times filtration collects the suspended impurities in water and enhances the effectiveness of disinfection. The filters are routinely cleaned by backwashing. Disinfection: times water is disinfected before it enters the distribution system to ensure that any disease-causing bacteria, viruses, and parasites are destroyed. Times chlorine is used because it is a very effective disinfectant, and residual concentrations can be maintained to guard against possible biological contamination in the water distribution system. Times the addition of chlorine or chlorine compounds to drinking water is called chlorination. Times chlorine can combine with certain naturally occurring organic compounds in water to produce chloroform and other potentially harmful byproducts. Times the risk of this is very small, however, when chlorine is applied after coagulation, sedimentation, and filtration. Times ozone gas may also be used for disinfection of drinking water. However, since ozone is unstable, it cannot be stored and must be produced on site, making the process more expensive than chlorination. Times ozone has the advantage of not causing taste or odor problems. It also leaves no residue in the disinfected water. Times the lack of an ozone residue, however, makes it difficult to monitor its continued effectiveness as water flows through the distribution system. Sludge drying times solids that are collected and settled out of the water by sedimentation and filtration are removed to drying lagoons. Fluoridation times water fluoridation is the treatment of community water supplies for the purpose of adjusting the concentration of the free fluoride ion to the optimum level sufficient to reduce dental caries. Times fluoride is generally present in all natural water. Its concentration up to a certain level is not harmful. Beyond that level, the bones start disintegrating. This disease is called fluorosis. Times we have fluoride problem in many parts of our country. Bureau of Indian Standards prescribes 1.0 mgl as desirable and 1.5 mgl as a maximum permissible limit for drinking water. Times defluoridation at domestic level can be carried out by mixing water for treatment with an adequate amount of aluminium sulfate, alum, solution, lime or sodium carbonate and bleaching powder depending upon its alkalinity, concentration of bicarbonates and carbonates in water, and fluoride contents. pH correction times lime is added to the filtered water to adjust the pH and stabilize the naturally soft water in order to minimize corrosion in the distribution system and within customers' plumbing. Tidbit: National Environmental Engineering Research Institute, NERI, is at Nagpur. Removal of iron times in many parts of our country. We have a problem of excess iron in drinking water, especially in northeast regions. Times iron causes bad taste and odor to the drinking water. Times Bureau of Indian Standards prescribes desirable limit for iron as 0.3 mgl times a major part of iron is oxidized. Then the water is made to react with oxidizing media, limestone. Times by aeration and further oxidation, the dissolved iron is converted to insoluble ferric hydroxide. The insoluble iron can thus be easily removed through filtration. Removal of arsenic. 75 times arsenic is found in groundwater in some parts of West Bengal. Arsenic is highly toxic. Times Bureau of Indian Standards prescribes desirable limit for arsenic as 0.05 mgl times bleaching powder and alum are used for the removal of arsenic. Q. Which one among the following industries is the maximum consumer of water in India? A. Engineering. B. Paper and pulp. C. Textiles. D. Thermal power. Water consumption by various industries. 1. Thermal power. 2. Textile industry. 3. Paper and pulp. 4. Iron and steel industry. 5. Fertilizer industry. Ecos and toilets times ecological sanitation is a sustainable system for handling human excreta using dry composting toilets. Times this is a practical, hygienic, efficient and cost-effective solution to human waste disposal. Times with this composting method, human excreta can be recycled into a resource as natural fertilizer, which reduces the need for chemical fertilizers. Biotoilets times designed by railways along with DRDO. Why biotoilets in rail? Times direct discharge of human waste from the existing toilet system in trains causes corrosion of the tracks, costing crores to replace the rail tracks. Times the biotoilets are fitted underneath the times arsenic is found in groundwater in some parts of West Bengal. Arsenic is highly toxic. Times Bureau of Indian Standards prescribes desirable limit for arsenic as 0.05 mgl. Times bleaching powder and alum are used for the removal of arsenic. Q. Which one among the following industries is the maximum consumer of water in India? A. Engineering. B. Paper and pulp. C. Textiles. D. Thermal power. Water consumption by various industries. 1. Thermal power. 2. Textile industry. 3. Paper and pulp. 4. Iron and steel industry. 5. Fertilizer industry. Ecosystem toilets times ecological sanitation is a sustainable system for handling human excreta using dry hygienic, efficient and cost-effective solution to human waste disposal. Times with this compost which reduces the needs along with DRDO. Why biotoilets in rail? Times direct discharge of human waste from the existing toilet system in trains causes corrosion of the tracks, costing crores to replace the rail tracks. Times the biotoilets are fitted underneath the times anaerobic bacteria. Anaerobic bacteria flourish in the absence of free dissolved oxygen and survive by utilizing the bounded molecular oxygen in compounds like nitrates, number 3, and sulfates, sulfur, etc. thereby reducing them to stable end products along with evolution of foul-smelling gases like H2S, hydrogen sulfide, CH4, methane. Times facultative bacteria. Facultative bacteria can operate either as aerobically or as required. Times anaerobes can even times sludge generation is very less. Times one time bacterial inoculation is enough. Times minimal maintenance and no recurring cost. Q with reference to biotoilets used by the Indian Railways. Consider the following statements. 1. The decomposition of human waste in the biotoilets is initiated by a fungal inoculum. 2. Ammonia and water vapor are the only end products in this decomposition which are released into the atmosphere. Which of the statements given above are correct? A. 1 only B. 2 only C. Both 1 and 2D. Neither 1 nor 2 times decomposition of human waste in biotoilets is carried out by anaerobic bacteria. Times the final waste is CO2 and CH4. Answer D. Neither 1 nor 2 eutrophication aging of lakes times lakes receive their water from surface runoff and along with its various chemical substances and minerals. Times over periods spanning millennia, Aging occurs as the lakes accumulate mineral and organic matter and gradually get filled up. Times the nutrient enrichment of the lakes promotes the growth of algae, aquatic plants, and when the consequent the basis of their nutrient content, lakes are categorized as oligotrophic, very low nutrients, rich. Times a vast majority of lakes in India are either eutrophic or mesotrophic because of the nutrients derived from their surroundings or organic wastes entering them. 77 Eutrophication and algal bloom times eutrophic water body. It is a body of water rich in nutrients and so supporting a dense plant population, the decomposition of which kills animal life by depriving it of oxygen. Times eutrophication is the response to the addition of nutrients such as nitrates and phosphates naturally or artificially, fertilizing the aquatic ecosystem. Times phytoplankton, algae and blue-green bacteria thrive on the excess nutrients and their population explosion covers almost entire surface layer. This condition is known as algal bloom. Mechanism times phytoplankton are photosynthetic during daytime adding oxygen to the aquatic ecosystem. Times but during nights, they consume far more oxygen as they respire aggressively. Times i.e. algal blooms accentuate the rate of oxygen depletion as the population of phytoplankton is very high. Times the primary consumers